Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today is Thursday, August 8th, 2024. I had hoped that there may have potentially been something of an update with a bit more substance earlier this week, and so that's why I wanted to wait a little bit to see if in fact we get that update, which we have not gotten, before creating a broadcast. At this juncture, though, a number of people have been asking me, hey, where's the Bitcoin production update for last month? What's going on with Puro Earth? Hey, are we going to have any sort of investor presentation for Q2 2024? Those are three things that I think, all of us are looking forward to, and which I think there's a reasonable chance, at least two of those things, the Bitcoin production update and the investor presentation, I think those things may potentially very well just kind of get wrapped up together into one package. So we, I believe in 2022, had our investor presentation on August, I believe, 10th of that particular year for, in other words, our Q2 2022 investor presentation, I think, was held on August 10th. And then last year, in 2023, our Q2 2023 investor presentation, if I'm not mistaken, was held on August 16th. So today is August 8th. So I think there's a reasonable chance that we're probably in the range, or at least we're approaching that time period in which we have, dare I say traditionally, it's only really been two reporting periods, but traditionally had our investor presentation, for the, the Q2 period. Do I think there's going to be a separate news release pertaining to the July, 2024 Bitcoin production update? I'm open-minded to it, but I'm not necessarily holding my breath. I do suspect that's just going to get wrapped up into our investor presentation. Is it plausible that we may also find out during our investor presentation that we have indeed been, accepted into the Puro Earth registry? That really would be the triple play, so to speak, right? We get a Puro Earth update, we get a Bitcoin production update, which, I'm not necessarily expecting miracles, insofar as our Bitcoin production numbers for July, but nevertheless, we may very well get some substantive business updates that pertain to Bitcoin in the sense of, hey, are we going to double, triple, quadruple down on, hey, getting more and more Bitcoin mining machines to chase after, hash prices that, hey, at least as of right now, have not been very, very good. Look, I'm not the kind of person to be unduly negative. Hey, look, we don't control hash prices, okay? Earlier this week when Bitcoin got sort of like blasted away, when the market really kind of melted down a bit, I think I saw hash prices sort of like skim the 3-cent range. Thankfully, they've kind of come back up. I haven't checked a whole lot today yet, but I did see late yesterday they were kind of approaching 5 cents. So again, that's not great either, but it's certainly better than 3 cents. So with all of that said, I do think there's a very good and decent chance that we're going to get a news release announcing when our investor presentation is going to be held. And I suspect we may get that news release tomorrow. Friday, August 9th, 2024, or if not, then probably sometime next week. Okay. Now, am I expecting any surprises or anything really interesting in our investor presentation? Yes, I am. And that's not to suggest that I'm expecting a miracle, but I am certainly anticipating, as I'm sure you are as well, there to be some substantive, meaningful updates as to what's going on, During our May 2nd, 2024 investor presentation, on that day, our stock price, shares of Stronghold Digital Mining closed at $3 and I believe 20 cents a share. It'll be interesting if on the very day, this is on May 2nd, 2024, that we announced, hey, we are going to be exploring some strategic alternatives, some strategic options. It'll be interesting to see if our stock price is materially below $3.20 a share when we have our Q2 2024 investor presentation. I think that could be an interesting comparison, Hey, we announced that, the share price is unacceptably low on May 2nd, 2024, and it was about $3.20 a share at closing on that day. a little over 90 some odd days later, right? Where's the stock price? Is it materially lower than $3.20 a share? Is it roughly the same price? And if it's either one of those two situations, right? Hey, what ultimately then is the game plan to really try to boost the stock price? Now, listen, I understand that there's only so many things that, management can do. I understand that. I readily acknowledge that. I think it could be useful for the market and for, a lot of co-owners and shareholders to just get a little bit of context and color as to what that thinking looks like if, for example, our stock price is like in the $2 range when we have our Q2 2024 investor presentation as compared to like $3.20 where it closed out on May 2nd, right? So if we see that the stock has just continued to go down, then understandably, right? And I'm speaking now more so for a lot of people who I get a lot of feedback from who will understandably be wondering, okay, well, hey, it's been more than 90 days. We understand that there's no deadline or timetable insofar as when this strategic review process will conclude, but it could be useful to at least get a bit of an update as to what, where we are sort of on that journey and what, if anything, we have learned. Now, it was pointed out, I think very appropriately so, that there wouldn't really be any updates, unless the board of directors decided, hey, you know what, it's time to maybe provide some kind of update. And I respect and understand that too. You got to be very careful sometimes, right, with, how you proceed when you're actively pursuing strategic alternatives. I get that. I do think that there's probably room for some modicum of context and color as to, what is sort of going on, right? Because understandably, right, for a lot of people who maybe, don't care about the nuance of all of this, they just look at the stock price and they're like, hey, look, it was $3.20 a share back on May 2nd. Hey, let's see what it's like when we have our investor presentation. But yeah, if it's about the same price or lower, understandably, okay, this isn't me. I'm speaking sort of like for the collective others here, right? Understandably, there are going to be a lot of individuals who are like, what the F is going on, right? Like, what are we really doing here? Okay. And so I think that's something that probably should be addressed to some degree. It doesn't have to be copious amounts of detail, but at least something has to, I think, be said about, the process, right? Otherwise, it's understandable why those who just look at the stock price might wonder, well, what are they doing, right? What is really going on? In any event, listen, we have, I think, been on quite the journey, to say the least, right? And I suspect, in fact, I really believe that we are going to get some, I think, very meaningful updates in the not too distant future regarding our carbon capture project, regarding the future of our Bitcoin mining operations and what that operation will look like, the future of any potential AI/machine learning applications that may come into our data centers, and ultimately the future of the assets that we own, right? The entire operation. I think all of this is really at play. It's an exciting time, I think, to be a shareholder of this company, especially if you're getting into this name at prices right around where we're at now. This is an investment advice, right? This is high risk, but potentially high reward, especially from the levels we are at right now. So with all of that said, let's stay positive, let's be great, and we will see each other again soon.